Morning. We're going to talk HR and specifically recruitment and retention. This is something that, as an organization, you want to make sure that you are always focusing on and being continuous with it, not just when we're going through the great resignation, as they're calling it, or having lots of job openings and turnover. You want to make sure that you are being proactive and intentional because you want to have that flow of applicants in that pipeline so that your organization can meet its mission. So as a nonprofit, obviously you have a little bit of a struggle, probably mostly with like trying to hire people with compensation issues, right? You might not be able to offer what a for-profit can. But on the positive side, you have a big advantage in that you are mission driven. So you're out there making a difference, you're helping people, you're making an impact, helping the communities. And people are really looking for that connection to work right now, especially millennials and the younger generation. So if you're able to find those people who are passionate about what you do, that can really help your recruiting efforts. I'm not saying it's easy, but those are obviously the kind of people you're looking for. So just real quick about me, those obviously was my curly hair days there. Need a new picture. I've been with the firm about 11 years. I think my anniversary is the end of this month, and I've worked in HR my whole life. I went to school for it. Sometimes I question that decision, but we lived through COVID in HR, so I think I'm going to be okay. Hopefully, we won't have anything like that again. My main role with the firm is to help our clients with their HR needs, and that's clients throughout the firm. I'm in every office helping nonprofits and for-profits, local governments with their HR needs, and I get to do fun stuff like come here and present. So this is what we're going to talk about. Real quick, we're going to look at current conditions, just talk a little bit about how we got to where we are today, look at what you can offer. Are you being competitive with your benefits? Also talk about recruiting and sourcing ideas, and finally finish up with retaining employees. So obviously we have a people shortage. Everyone realizes that. We've heard the term great resignation. It's actually more kind of a great reshuffle. And I wanted to share just a little bit about kind of how we got there. There's a lot of reasons for why we're in the position we are today, a lot of history and a lot of statistics, but I just wanted to, again, kind of give you an idea of what's going on. It's interesting if you look at the unemployment rate and the amount of unemployed February 2020 prior to the pandemic and what the unemployment rate is now, 3.6%, 3.5%, we're almost back to pre-pandemic levels. And it was 3.6% in March as well, so we're kind of leveling out a little bit. But what's more interesting is if you look at the number of job openings, back in February 2020, there was 6.9 million. Now there's 11.5 million. So even if you put everybody unemployed back, we still have almost 5 million job openings. So what happened? Where is everybody? Well, a lot of things happened. Again, it's interesting if you look at 2019 in the fall versus 2020 in the fall, we had an additional 3.2 million people retire. That's a lot of people to leave the workforce. And we just had lots of young and middle-aged people leave the workforce. The pandemic, everyone kind of took a look at themselves and their lives and was like, what do I want from work? What do I want from my job? And some people just didn't come back, whether it's they had to have continual care for like maybe daycare or elderly, or maybe with health concerns, they didn't come back, or they realized they could live on one income and they don't want to work. I read an article where some people are living off the boomers, inheritance, that type of thing, or just kind of, again, reevaluating everything and taking a break from work, stressed out, burnout. So not only do we have unemployed people, but we have unengaged people. So we have to figure out how to get and pull them back into the workforce. And I also wanted to mention immigration. I realize that doesn't affect directly a nonprofit, but it's been declining for years with COVID, with administration policies, and that affects construction, ag, the medical field, IT. And there's only two places you can get people from, either our current population or immigration. And I read an article the other day that said there's 4 million visas on hold right now. So we're just dying for people that want to work right now. And this is just a really quick overview of kind of why we are where we are today. And we just don't have enough people for all the job openings. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about you and what you're offering, in terms of when you're trying to recruit people, trying to retain people. I just want to mention a little bit about brand and image. When you're out there and you're trying to, recruit people into your organization, what are you telling them? Why do people love working for you? What's your hook? And you're probably mostly focusing on your mission, and you want to make sure that whether it's your website, your Facebook page, your advertising, that you're really pulling people in. I saw an advertisement for a hospice position the other day. It was for a team coordinator. And they said something to the extent of team coordinators are the heart of our organization. Take a chance, make a meaningful impact. So I thought that was a well-written ad because it's making you, think about the job a little bit more and trying to make an emotional connection to it. So make sure you're really thinking about your image and able to articulate why people should come work for you. Now, this is a list of very typical benefits that are out there. So I'd like you to kind of think about what are you offering compared to this list and what are your waiting periods. Of course, everybody needs health insurance. And I realize there's, again, different size organizations out here. Some may be able to offer it, some may not. There are other options like HRAs, which you can put money into to help employees with medical expenses. So I really encourage you, if you haven't, to work with a good broker to truly understand all the options out there. Of course, you need a retirement plan to be competitive. Life insurance is a pretty common benefit that's not too expensive out there. Income protection like short-term and long-term disability are also considerations. PTO, paid time off, whether that's vacation, sick leave, personal leave, or all in one bank. That's really important to people. People want a work-life balance. I know any Maryland people, you have to offer sick leave, but you know, are you making people wait an entire year for a few days of vacation? That's not competitive. There's a lot of people offering a lot more than that. So definitely take a look at your waiting periods and the amount of time off you're offering. And of course, people like holiday pay. If they're working the holiday, are you giving them extra? You don't have to, but just ways to entice people. An employee assistance program. Those are really, really nice to have, especially if you're in management, because it gives you a tool to send people to. Because you probably always have people coming to you, whether it's work issues or personal issues. And this makes you look good because you have a resource for free counseling. And usually the EAPs have really nice newsletters and resources online that employees can go to. So it's, again, another benefit that really helps you connect with your employees. And of course, there's lots of ways you can help with educational assistance as well. Loan repayment programs have become kind of popular, tuition assistance. And again, I realize you may be limited with funds, but you want to try to at least get as many of the basics as you can so that you're able to compete with the other companies out there. Of course, we have to look at compensation. This is always a tough question. Are you paying market value? And right now, that's really hard because everybody's paying above market. It's about 10% is what people are paying above market right now. So that makes it even harder. So there's ways to find salary data out there like PayScale and BLS. It's free data, so I wouldn't say it's the greatest. But for example, PayScale, if you want to find out how much a job makes, you can go out and fill out a report. Sometimes nonprofit associations will have surveys out there that can be helpful. And maybe if you can't, get the salary up where you need to be, maybe you're able to offer a sign-on bonus, at least get them in and pull them in, and hopefully your culture and work environment, they'll stick around. Are you being flexible? Again, kind of back to the work-life balancing with work hours. The 40-hour, 8 to 5 kind of work hours pretty much non-existent now. Are you willing to, be flexible with start times, with end times? Will you offer reduced schedules? Maybe two part-timers doing a full-time job, or maybe doing a full-time job in 4 days instead of 5, or offering half-day Fridays. If you're not doing things like this, you need to get on board with it because everybody else is, assuming, you can do it based on your operating needs. And that leads into, of course, remote work, which I know is a touchy subject because a lot of people feel like, people don't work when they're at home. And we've all seen the TikTok videos, right? Where it looks like they're working at home. But you need to keep an open mind on this because it's happening. It's not going away. And there is a big trust factor there. You have to be able to trust your employees and manage them and measure what they're doing. But even if it's, only for one day a week, that still might help you recruit somebody who normally want to come into your organization. And if it can be fully remote, you open up a whole other geography. You're not just stuck to, within a half hour or so of your organization. So really try to open your mind for those positions that are able to work remotely to offer that. And of course, career development is super important, obviously, for retention as well. Are you investing in your employees' growth and development? Are you letting them go to training? Are you able to get them certified or whatever it is they need to continue to grow in their roles? Because that's a hook too when you're talking to people and millennials, and they're looking for that career advancement and growth. You want to make sure you're offering that. So when you're out there recruiting, do you think about what the candidate is going through? If you have a lengthy application process, whether it's still on paper or online, you're going to lose people. People have no attention span anymore. They want to be able to, attach resumes, send pretty much. They'll put their name and contact information in. So take a look at your process and take a look at your interview process. If it takes you weeks to call somebody in and weeks to get through interviews, you're going to lose people. You're going to lose interest. Someone else is going to snag them. So make sure you're really looking at your process. When you get an application in that looks good, hoping you even get one, right? We've had some jobs where we didn't get any. So when you get one, you need to call them right away, get them in, make sure you have a streamlined interview process. Don't call them in for an interview and then wait 3 weeks to call them back for a second interview. That doesn't work anymore. So really take a hard look at that. And when you bring someone into the organization, right, there's nothing worse than you hire somebody and they quit 2 days later. That is like just depressing for everyone, and especially the coworkers that are still there left to do the work again. So you want to make sure you have a formal orientation process, and it doesn't have to be days long. It can even just be a few hours, but the person should meet with their manager. They get to meet their coworkers, you know, have work ready for them to do, go through all the basics in the handbook and all that stuff, but make sure they have a buddy, someone. It's very stressful starting a new job. We know that. They need someone to talk to that they can ask questions with, that they feel they're not bothering, because that's all that person's role is to help and ask those questions. And then once they're there, just don't assume everything's going okay. Follow back, 30, maybe 90 days, and ask them, hey, how's it going? What can we do better? Is everything all right? And maybe that'll definitely help you with some of that turnover that tends to happen sometimes in the first few months of employment. So we're going to talk about some recruiting resources. And again, I'm going to remind you, be proactive, be intentional. It can't be something on the back burner with recruiting that we just do when we have an opening or think about occasionally. It has to be focused. So we all know about job boards, right? And hopefully you're using Indeed, and you should be, because that's where everybody goes. But there's a lot of specialty type job boards too. And I just threw a few up there, like women and retirement. ZipRecruiter, that's a paid job board where they actually throw it out to a bunch of job boards. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but like Indeed has a resume subscription. So if you subscribe to Indeed, you can look at all the resumes that people are posting and contact them through Indeed and do searches. We've had some success with that. So maybe if you especially have a lot of openings, you might want to go out there and subscribe just for a few months, because you can search on keywords and companies and all kinds of stuff. And there's literally thousands of people posting their resumes every day. So that's something you may want to consider. But of course, we have to do beyond job boards. And as was mentioned, an employee referral program can be a really nice way to get people in the door. And maybe if you can't do a big cash bonus, even something like, a gift card to your favorite restaurant. And typically, if it's a larger bonus, you probably might want to do a little up front and then more once the person has proven to show up and be successful. But these employee referral programs can be really, really helpful. Hopefully you're all involved with schools, because this is your pipeline, right? These are the young people you need to be coming into your organization. And I'm not talking about just attending a job fair. Do you know the teachers? Do you know the professors? Are you presenting at clubs? Are you on a first name basis with career services? Do you email alumni groups? You want to go deep into the schools, even at the high school level through the college level. And interns, if you are able to use interns, that's a great, try before you buy type thing, a great way to build entry level staff. And, people really have to think outside the box now. If you have a degreed position that you typically hire, in a certain degree, kind of think outside the box again. Could a business major work maybe, or someone else, a communications major, and really make those connections with the schools. Our firm, we have a very big internship program. That's what feeds our entire firm. So I would really encourage you to take a look at that. Now, this might sound kind of weird, but former employees, I would suggest that you literally sit down and go back, I don't know, 10, 15 years and think about the people who left your organization that you liked, right? That you would consider rehirable and make a list. Maybe they left because they had small children. Maybe they left because they moved out of the area and they came back. But take the time to make that list and think through it and then start reaching out. Maybe if they don't want to come back, if they still enjoyed working with you, maybe they have someone they can refer. So that's another suggestion I have. Of course, use social media. Does everybody have Facebook pages out there? Yeah. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. We all know how powerful social media is, right? So post your jobs out there, post your new hires. Hey, look who joined us type stuff. And LinkedIn, I know LinkedIn's actually becoming Facebook. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but it's gotten really bad with the personal stuff. But you can do search features on there and you can look for people who you think could be a fit for your organization simply by searching through LinkedIn. And when you go to connect, you can actually it allows you a few sentences there. So you can reach out to people, and if you're connected, you can actually send them a message. Send out things like, hey, we're looking for somebody. Do you have any ideas, might you be interested? And that again kind of gets the word out there. If you're not doing it, people are contacting your employees from LinkedIn. I can tell you that right now. So you might as well jump in and do it as well because it's happening. So make sure you're using social media. And this is kind of a fun idea. Like you can create a template to give new hires. I see this a lot on like LinkedIn and Facebook. It says, hey, I'm excited. I joined SEK. And guess what? That gets shared over and over and over again. And people are like, what's it like to work at SEK? Maybe I want to check them out. So those are like fun little things you can do. Don't be scared of social media. Make sure you're using it. And this may sound obvious, but when you're hiring, think about where people hang out. Where might people be that you could find to work for you? Is it churches, gyms, local stores, mom's club, AARP? Like a mom's club is a great place to find part-time work, especially when their kids start going back to school. Reach out to your local mom's club and let them know you have openings. So again, kind of think outside the box a little bit. And even current employees, obviously they want to grow. And if you have higher level positions, don't write them off. Make sure you're communicating your opportunities throughout your organization. And that maybe if they don't have the exact skill set, train them. If they're motivated and they like your organization and they're a good employee, invest in them, train them, and get them up to the level you need to fill your position. Of course, consider independent contractors on here. You probably already do, but maybe you don't need a full-time person. You just need some project type work and you're in a bind. You might want to consider using independent contractors. And this last bullet point here goes back to being proactive, being intentional. Get a list together. Start making it real for everyone you contact, whether it's prior employees, whether it's a LinkedIn contact, whether it's an employee referral possibly. Make a list, share it with who's ever recruiting in your organization and own this. Who put the name on the list, where they came from, when was the last time you contacted them, what is the follow-up plan? You want to make it real. And it's not real until you put it in writing and you continue to come back to it and add to it. And that will be a living document that is constantly being updated. But it really kind of makes it real once you put it in writing. The one thing I want to mention first off here is you've probably heard the expression, people leave managers, not jobs, right? And Jim Clifton, who is the CEO of Gallup, has said that the most important decision any organization can make is who they name manager. So when it comes to retention, you need to really take a look at your leadership team, at your management team, and look at how are you being, okay? Are you open to change and flexible? Are you providing feedback and recognition and empowering your employees? Are you communicating your mission and your goals and giving updates and treating people fairly? If you're not doing these things, then probably most people are leaving because of management. So you want to start there. And I know we're not perfect and all this stuff isn't super easy to do, but it's really important because there's some really quality companies out there doing these things, and it's going to really help you with your retention and also actually your recruitment. So take a look at the management team. And stay interviews. Anybody doing stay interviews to find out how your current people feel? Okay. Has it been successful for you? Have you gotten good feedback? Yeah, I bet. Monthly check-ins are awesome, and we always focus on the performance appraisal and that written document. But the written document and all that stuff doesn't matter if you're not talking and communicating and continually checking in and knowing where your employees are at. So the stay interview, the concept of that is taking the time to talk to your good staff that are happy, good performers, and find out what's going on. But don't do it if you're not going to take any action. Here are some sample questions. Why have you chosen to remain with the organization? What are you passionate about? Are we meeting your career development needs? What do you look forward to when you come to work each day? I like that. Sometimes you get lunch and, smart aleck answers, but it's always a good question to ask. And I really like this one too. Like what's weighing you down heavily on you? When you leave the office, you get some pretty good responses on that. Are we missing anything? Is there something you have to contribute, that we haven't talked about? And I really like the last one. What might tempt you to leave the organization? And you can get some really, really good feedback when you do this. But again, do it with the right intentions that you want the feedback and you're going to make changes. We kind of talked about this. If you can, make sure you're offering some remote, flexible schedules, hybrid work for work-life balance. Now, of course, you need to review compensation, okay? If you have somebody that's way below market, obviously it's a high risk that they're going to leave. And you really have to look at salary compression. How many people have had to hire someone in at a rate that's close to or higher than the current employee? Right. I see a lot of head shaking. That happens. And that can be just totally demoralizing if the employees find out, right? You need to fix that. You have to adjust your internal staff. It's not fair and it's a difficult conversation to have, but people talk about their salaries, right? Employees talk and they're allowed to. You can't stop that. And if you allow new people to make more than your dedicated, hardworking current employees, that's going to hurt you big time. So make sure you take that seriously when you have those salary compression issues. This kind of goes back to the onboarding with retaining people. Make sure they have a buddy. They're comfortable coming into the organization when they first start the job. They need that go-to person. A really great thing to do is a mentor program. Anybody have mentor programs? Anyone? No? So think about a mentor program because that really helps people with job satisfaction when they understand more about the organization, more about their career path. And the great thing is it benefits the mentor and the mentee. They both get something out of it. So really think about that because that will definitely help with retention. So just a couple things, we're going to finish up here. We want to make sure that you get started right. If you haven't done so, take the time in your management meetings to sit down and plan. Figure out what do you need right now, staffing wise, and what do you need a year from now based on growth, based on turnover. Put it down, put it in writing, and then brainstorm. Put a recruitment strategy together. Think about some of the things we talked about. Where are you going to find people? Who's going to be responsible for taking the action and doing it? Who's going to start that list that we're going to focus on and be dedicated to? And if you have a cumbersome application and interview process, fix it as soon as you can. Fix it. And with retention, of course, if you're not talking to your employees, get your management talking to employees. Do stay interviews with your good staff and really fix salary compression issues. I know that's a lot to take in right there, but just go do all that and then everything will be rosy, right? Okay, thank you.